before we start, shall we close our eyes and get ready? Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know. Be still. Be. Well, no desert today, so that means we're somewhere else. But before we start, I'm going to have a little recap about what we've learned in our stories so far. So if you can remember way back to the beginning, we started our very first story talking about creation and how God created the heavens and the earth and everything in it, and how he said it is good. And then we learned about Noah and the great flood and the ark, and how God promised that he would never again flood the earth in such a way. And then God's promise to Abraham and Sarah, and how they would have the great family with as many people as the stars in the sky and the grains of sand in the desert. And how they became the Israelites and wandered through the desert, and how God parted the sea and they got through to freedom. And then they found the 10 best ways, the 10 commandments. Well, today we're going to learn about a prophet. And a prophet is someone who comes close to God, and God comes so close to them that they can hear what God is saying to them. Sometimes God would give them a special message to give to the people. A prophet knows the best ways to live and can lead others in those ways. They listen to what God is telling them to do, and then they go and do it. And our story today is about the prophet Jonah. Now, the word of the Lord came to Jonah. Get up, go to that great city of Nineveh and tell the people there they are bad and they need to change and become good. Now, a prophet, as we know, is a person who comes close to God, and God comes close to them, so they know what God wants them to do and say, and then they go and do it. But Jonah, he went the other way. He came across a boat that was sailing to Tarshish in Spain. He climbed aboard, and the boat set sail. It was going as far away from Nineveh as you could get. Suddenly, a great storm came. The waves surrounded the boat. The sailors were afraid, and each of them began to pray to their own gods. And they began to throw everything overboard to make the boat lighter so that it wouldn't sink. Now, a prophet is someone who helps the people discover what is the best thing to do. So the people on the boat went to look for Jonah. And do you know where he was? He was in the bottom of the boat, asleep. The captain found him and he commanded Jonah to call. Thank you, darling. And he commanded Jonah to call upon his God to save them. And all Jonah did was climb up onto the deck of the boat. The people were now even more afraid. They decided to cast lots to see who God was angry at, and they wanted to throw that person overboard to get rid of them. Now, a prophet is someone who can speak for the one true God. But Jonah still did not speak. The sailors asked him who he was, and he told them that he worshipped God, the God who created the dry land and the sea. The sailors were afraid. They realized now that Jonah was running away from God, or trying to run away from God. The sea became even more troubled, and Jonah said, "Throw me overboard and the storm will stop." So they threw him overboard into the sea. All was quiet, and the storm calmed. Now, a prophet is someone who brings people close to God by what they do or say. Jonah had said nothing. But when the sea grew calm, the sailors fell down and worshipped the one true God. A prophet is someone who is very close to God, and a false prophet is very far from God. When Jonah was thrown into the water, he was neither near to God nor far from God. Jonah was sinking. As he sunk to the bottom, a great fish came, and it swallowed Jonah. Jonah was in the belly of the whale for 3 days and for 3 nights. Jonah began to pray. The fish began to feel very strange. He grew sicker and sicker, and finally, he vomited Jonah up onto the dry land. Now the word of the Lord came to Jonah a second time. "Get up, go to the great city of Nineveh and tell the people there that they are bad and they need to change and become good." This time, Jonah obeyed God and he went to Nineveh. He cried out to the people of Nineveh that they were bad and that God commanded them to be good and to turn to him. Now, a prophet is someone who would be overjoyed if people who are bad turn good. And the people of Nineveh did listen to God's call, and they changed and they became good. They wore sackcloth and ashes to show how sorry they were. Even the king and queen were sorry, and they became good. The creatures of the fields were sorry too, and they became good. God did not destroy that great city. But this made Jonah angry. He wanted God to destroy the city. These people were not even the people of God. Jonah went outside of the city and he sat on a hill and he sulked. He wanted to get his own way. God said, "Why are you angry?" God caused a plant to grow to bring Jonah shade from the sun as he sat on the hill. Then one night, God sent a worm to attack the plant, and it withered and died. When the sun rose, the east wind came, and the sun shone down on Jonah's head, and he became faint. Now Jonah was angry about the plant too. "Why are you angry about the plant?" God asked. Jonah said, "I am angry. I am angry enough to die." He thought he still might get his own way. God said, "You pity the plant, but you did nothing for it. You did not cause it to grow. You did not care for it. Should I not pity Nineveh, that great city with over 120,000 people and all their cattle?" And that's where the story finishes. But I wonder what part of the story you liked the best. I wonder what part of the story is the most important part. I wonder where you are in this story and what part you have to play. I wonder if there's any part of the story we can take away and still have all the story that we need. Watch as we put our story away. We have the boat that Jonah sailed away on, the great fish that swallowed him up, the great city of Nineveh, the plant that gave Jonah shelter, the prophet Jonah, and the sea and the dry land that God created. And now we're going to sing a song about Jonah.